There's a quiet truth about life that many of us have forgotten. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. And yet it holds the power to change everything. You see, many of us have been taught to believe that to get what we want, we have to fight for it, sacrifice for it, and constantly prove ourselves worthy of it. From a young age, we are told, nothing comes easy. You have to earn it. That belief seeps into every part of our lives, our work, our relationships, even our spiritual journey. So, when we first hear about manifestation, when someone tells us we can create our reality, we often approach it with that same old mindset. We think, if I just work harder at visualizing, if I repeat affirmations longer, if I search for enough signs from the universe, then maybe I'll finally get what I desire. But here's where the struggle begins. Because manifestation isn't meant to be a battle. It isn't about pushing or pulling, chasing or grasping. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the vibration of what you seek. So life can naturally flow toward you, just like a river doesn't need to strain to find its way to the sea. Imagine for a moment that you are tuning a radio. All the stations already exist. You don't have to create them. You don't have to force the music to play. All you need to do is adjust the dial until you match the frequency of the station you want to hear. Manifestation works exactly the same way. The life you dream of, the love, the abundance, the peace, the freedom, it already exists as a possibility in the vast quantum field. You don't need to build it from scratch. You simply need to tune yourself to its frequency. And that tuning is an inward process, not an outward struggle. The problem for most of us is that our inner world is often fragmented. We think one thing, feel another, and act in a completely different way. It's like sending mixed signals out into the universe. And the universe, which always reflects us perfectly, responds to that confusion. You might visualize having a beautiful, fulfilling relationship, but deep down, you still feel unworthy of love. You might say affirmations about wealth, but every time you pay a bill, you're gripped by fear and lack. In this way, your outer actions are disconnected from your inner vibration. When that happens, manifestation feels impossible, like you're trying to swim upstream against a strong current. But here's the shift: when you align your thoughts, feelings, and actions, you create a powerful resonance, like a laser beam. All of your energy becomes focused and coherent. And when that happens, reality begins to organize itself around you in ways that feel almost magical. Science actually supports this. When the heart and brain are in harmony, the body emits a measurable electromagnetic field. This isn't woo-woo, it's physics. Just like waves that vibrate together create greater power, your inner alignment creates a stronger signal to the quantum field. But alignment isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about softening into trust, letting go of the need to control every detail. Think about water flowing downstream. If you try to grab it, control it, or push it, you disturb its natural movement. But if you open your hand and let it flow, it finds the path of least resistance on its own. Manifestation is the same. The more you relax and allow, the more easily your desires can reach you. This doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. Action is still part of the journey, but it's inspired action, not frantic action. When you act from fear or desperation, you reinforce the vibration of lack. When you act from trust and excitement, your actions are an extension of your alignment. And perhaps the most surprising truth is this: what you desire isn't waiting for you in some far-off future. In the quantum field, all possibilities exist, now, past, present, and future, woven together like threads in the same tapestry. When you live as though your desire is already true in this moment, you collapse the distance between you and it. You stop being a seeker and become a creator. The first moment you clearly feel what you want, really feel it with your whole being. is like sending out a powerful signal. That one clear, heartfelt moment is often enough. But so many of us fall into doubt and repeat the process endlessly, thinking, if I don't do more, it won't work. In reality, repetition fueled by fear only muddies the signal. Trust the clarity of that first alignment and let it stand on its own. Above all, keep it simple. The universe doesn't respond to complexity. It responds to clarity. Just like a mirror reflects whatever stands before it, the universe reflects your vibration. If you stand still, calm and centered, the reflection is sharp and beautiful. But if you're constantly moving, doubting, and second-guessing, the reflection becomes blurred. The beauty of manifestation is that it was never about forcing life to bend to your will. It's about becoming so aligned, so whole, that life naturally bends toward you. So if you've been struggling, if you've been waiting for a sign or proof that what you want is possible, take this moment as your sign. Stop fighting. Stop searching. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to feel the version of you who already has what you desire. Live from that place now in your words, in your choices, in the way you move through the world, and watch how the universe responds. Not because you begged for it, but because you became it. You are not here to chase miracles. You are the miracle. And when you truly understand that, manifestation stops being a struggle and becomes as natural and effortless as your own heartbeat. 1. The essence of manifestation: tuning your frequency. There is a quiet shift that happens when you stop trying to force life and instead begin to align with it. For so long, many of us have been taught that to have the life we want, we must push harder, do more, and never let go. We've been told that dreams are built through struggle, that what we desire must be wrestled from the world through sheer effort. But manifestation doesn't work like that. It was never about pushing and pulling, fighting or forcing. It's about harmony. It's about becoming the right note in the song of life so that everything you seek can flow naturally toward you. Imagine for a moment an old radio sitting on a table. All around you, hundreds of songs are already playing through invisible airwaves. You can't hear them yet, but they are there, perfectly real, perfectly available. To listen to the song you want, you don't have to create it or shout louder than the static. You simply turn the dial until the radio matches the frequency of that song. Once the frequencies match, the music fills the room effortlessly. There is no strain, no battle, no negotiation, just resonance. Manifestation works in exactly the same way. Every possible version of your life, every dream, every desire, every potential outcome already exists in what we might call the quantum field. This field is like a vast ocean of infinite possibilities, and all of those possibilities are vibrating at different frequencies. You don't have to make your dream a reality as though it doesn't exist yet. You don't have to beg the universe to give it to you. You simply have to tune yourself to the frequency where that reality already lives. And here's the beautiful truth: when you match that vibration, life naturally reflects it back to you. Just like a mirror cannot help but reflect your image, the universe cannot help but mirror your internal state. But here's where most of us get stuck. We keep trying to change the mirror instead of adjusting ourselves. We stare at the reflection, our circumstances, our relationships, our finances, and we fight to make it different. We push, we force, we overwork. But all that effort is like yelling at a radio to play a different song without actually turning the dial. The external world is just feedback. It's showing you what frequency you're tuned to. If you don't like what you see, the work isn't out there. It's in here, in your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your energy. When you shift your inner state, the outer world has no choice but to follow. This doesn't mean that effort disappears entirely. It doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. But there's a profound difference between effort that comes from struggle and effort that flows from alignment. The first is exhausting, like swimming upstream against a relentless current. The second feels natural, even joyful, like floating downstream, carried by the river itself. When you are aligned with the frequency of your desire, action becomes effortless. You don't have to force yourself to make it happen. You are simply moved by inspiration, guided by clarity. It's like dancing to music. You can feel deep in your bones. You don't think about each step. You just move because it feels right. In this way, manifestation is less about doing and more about being. It's not about manipulating reality with sheer willpower. It's about becoming a living embodiment of what you want to experience. For example, if you desire love, don't chase after it desperately, sending out signals of fear and lack. Instead, become the frequency of love itself. Nurture that vibration inside of you through self-compassion, openness, and joy. When you do, the external world cannot help but mirror it back to you through relationships and experiences that match your inner state. This is why manifestation is not magic in the sense of conjuring something from nothing. It's not about tricking the universe or manipulating outcomes. It's simply resonance, two vibrations, meeting and harmonizing. And here's the part that brings so much peace. You don't have to figure out how the universe will bring it to you. You don't need to control every detail, every timing, every step. All you need to do is keep tuning yourself through your thoughts, your emotions, your actions to the state of being that matches your desire. When you do this, life begins to shift in subtle ways. New opportunities arise seemingly out of nowhere. Conversations happen at just the right moment. Doors you didn't even know existed swing open. To someone watching from the outside, it might look like coincidence or luck, but you will know the truth. It's alignment. It's resonance. It's the natural flow of the universe responding to the frequency you've chosen. So if you've been struggling, if manifestation has felt like a battle, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself as that radio, surrounded by infinite songs. Remember that you don't need to create the music. You don't need to fight the static. You simply need to tune in. The next time you look at your life, instead of asking, "Why isn't it here yet?" try asking, "What frequency am I broadcasting right now?" That one simple question can change everything. Because when you become a match to the reality you desire, resistance falls away. And in that space of harmony, manifestation ceases to be a struggle and becomes as natural and inevitable as hearing the music once you've found the right station. The song has always been there. Now, it's simply time to listen. 2. Why many people fail. The fragmentation within. So many people come to me and say, "I've done everything. I've visualized every morning. I've written my affirmations until my hand cramped. I've filled my walls with vision boards. And yet, nothing has changed." I see the exhaustion in their eyes, the confusion, the quiet pain of someone who has poured their heart into the process and feels like the universe hasn't heard them. And every time, I gently tell them the universe is not ignoring you. It is reflecting you perfectly, precisely, without mistake. Manifestation is never about what you are doing on the surface. It's about who you are being beneath the surface. If there's a disconnect between the outer ritual and the inner vibration, the universe will always respond to the inner truth. Imagine a beautiful instrument, like a grand piano. You can press the keys with perfect form, but if the piano is out of tune, the sound will still be distorted. The problem isn't in the effort of playing. It's in the alignment of the instrument itself. Your inner world works the same way. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are like different strings of that piano. When they are in harmony, they create a powerful, coherent signal, one the universe can clearly respond to. But when they are fragmented, out of tune with one another, they create chaos. And the universe doesn't judge or fix that chaos. It simply reflects it. So, You may be visualizing a life of abundance while secretly feeling unworthy of wealth. You may be speaking affirmations of love while carrying deep wounds of abandonment. You may be acting confident in public while battling fear and self-doubt in private. On the surface, it may look like you're doing all the right things, but underneath, your energy is broadcasting mixed messages. It's like sending a letter with two completely different addresses written on the envelope. The postal system can't decide where to deliver it, so it just gets lost in transit. The same thing happens when your mind, heart, and body are not aligned. The universe isn't confused. It's simply showing you exactly what you're broadcasting, a reflection of inner conflict. I once worked with a woman who desperately wanted a new career. Every day, she would visualize herself in her dream job. She created a stunning vision board with pictures of the office she longed for, the salary she hoped to earn, the life she imagined living. On the outside, she was doing everything right. But when we talked more deeply, she admitted that every time she visualized that dream job, a voice inside her whispered, "You're not good enough. They'll never pick you. You'll probably fail." Just like before, this voice was quiet, but it was constant. Her actions said one thing, but her vibration said another. She was planting seeds of abundance while watering them with fear. As long as that inner conflict went unresolved, the universe had no clear signal to respond to. It was like she was driving with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. Lots of noise, lots of effort, but no real movement forward. When she finally began to address the fear, everything changed. Instead of trying to fight or silence it, she started to listen. She sat quietly with her doubts and said, "I hear you. I understand why you feel this way. But we don't have to live like this anymore." Little by little, her thoughts, feelings, and actions began to align. She started to genuinely believe she deserved the job she desired. She began taking steps from a place of worthiness rather than desperation. And within 2 weeks, after 2 years of struggle, she received the job offer she had been dreaming about. This is the power of alignment. It's not the vision board itself that matters. It's the energy behind it. The universe doesn't respond to pictures on your wall or words on a page. It responds to the vibration you hold in your body, in your heart, in your very being. Think about it like a radio again. You can shout as loudly as you want into the speaker, but if the dial isn't set to the right frequency, you'll never hear the music you want. You can't trick the radio by pretending to be on the right station. The only way to hear the song is to actually turn the dial. Likewise, you can't trick the universe with surface-level rituals. If deep down, you're vibrating with fear, doubt, or lack, it will always respond to your dominant frequency, not your words, not your images, but your truth. This is why self-awareness is such a vital part of manifestation. Instead of focusing only on what you do, start noticing how you feel while you do it. Do your actions come from excitement or from fear? Does your visualization fill you with joy? Or does it remind you of what you don't have yet? Do your affirmations feel like a natural truth? Or do they sound like lies you're trying to convince yourself of? When you notice a misalignment, don't judge yourself. Simply become curious. Ask, what part of me still feels unsafe, unloved, or unworthy? What belief needs my compassion right now? As you bring healing to these inner fragments, something beautiful begins to happen. Your energy becomes clearer. Your signal becomes stronger. Your actions flow naturally instead of feeling forced. And when that harmony is restored, manifestation becomes effortless. The universe no longer has to guess what you want. It simply reflects the unified frequency you are broadcasting. So, if you've been doing all the right steps, but nothing seems to be happening, pause for a moment. Turn inward. Notice if there's a gap between what you say and what you truly feel. Because in the end, manifestation isn't about the vision board or the affirmations. It's about becoming whole inside yourself, so that your thoughts, your heart, and your actions all sing the same song. When they do, the universe will hear it clearly, and it will sing back to you in perfect harmony. 3. Surrendering control to receive clarity. There's a quiet truth. Many of us resist life was never meant to be controlled. And yet, so often, we grip tightly to every detail, trying to dictate when and how our desires will appear. We think, if I just push a little harder, if I just do a little more, if I just plan every step perfectly, then it will happen the way I need it to. This desire to control is deeply human. It comes from fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of being hurt. Fear of not getting what we want or losing what we have. Control gives us the illusion of safety, like a child clutching a blanket in the dark. But here's the paradox. The very act of clinging is what blocks the flow of what we desire most. Imagine you're standing beside a beautiful river. The water moves effortlessly, winding its way around rocks and through valleys, always finding the path of least resistance. You don't have to tell the river how to flow. You don't have to stand in the water and push it downstream. In fact, if you did, you would only disturb its natural course, creating ripples and turbulence where none are needed. Manifestation works the same way. The universe already knows the way. It knows the perfect timing, the perfect path, the perfect sequence of events that will bring your desire into form. When you try to control every aspect of that process, you disrupt the very harmony you are longing for. Control doesn't come from trust. It comes from a vibration of lack, the belief that, without your constant effort, everything will fall apart. And here's the key. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to the frequency you are. So when you are clinging, pushing, and micromanaging, your vibration is actually broadcasting. I don't trust this. I don't believe it's already mine. I'm afraid it won't come unless I force it. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, reflects that frequency back to you. Instead of flow, you experience resistance. Instead of clarity, confusion. Instead of ease, exhaustion. Think about holding a handful of sand. If you close your fist tightly, trying to keep every grain in place, the sand slips through your fingers. But if you open your hand, the sand rests there effortlessly. This is the difference between control and surrender. Surrender isn't giving up. It isn't laziness or apathy. It's a profound act of trust, a recognition that there is a greater intelligence guiding this universe, and that this intelligence is working with you, not against you. When you surrender, you're not abandoning your desire. You're simply releasing the pressure of having to figure out every detail by yourself. Think about the seasons. No one has to command the trees to shed their leaves or the flowers to bloom again. The cycles unfold naturally, guided by rhythms that have existed since the beginning of time. You don't stand outside in the middle of winter, yelling at the ground to produce spring. You trust that spring will come, and you live accordingly. Your desire follow a similar rhythm. They have their own timing, their own unfolding. When you try to rush that process or force it to happen on your schedule, you create stress and tension like pulling on a flower bud before it's ready to bloom. You can't make it blossom faster, but you can create the conditions for it to bloom beautifully in its own time. This is where clarity enters. Clarity doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from allowing life to reveal itself to you. When you let go of the need to control, you make space for insight, intuition, and synchronicity to guide you. You begin to see pathways that were invisible before. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, though in truth, they were always there. You were simply too busy pushing and grasping to notice them. Think about floating on your back in a river. If you thrash and fight the current, you exhaust yourself and risk sinking. But if you relax, trust, and let the water carry you, you discover that the river knows the way. Your only job is to stay afloat. to keep your heart open, to remain receptive. Surrender is like that. It's leaning back into the flow of the universe and saying, I don't need to control this. I choose to trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even if I can't see the whole picture yet. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. You still plant seeds, nurture them, and tend to your inner garden. But you stop digging up the soil every 5 minutes to check if the roots are growing. You let nature do what it does best. When you surrender, you shift from the energy of lack to the energy of abundance. You stop broadcasting, it's not here yet, and I need to make it happen. And you start vibrating with, it's already mine, and I trust the timing. And that shift changes everything. Suddenly, life begins to flow again. The tension eases. You feel lighter, freer, more open. And in that openness, manifestation happens naturally, not because you forced it, but because you became a clear, receptive channel for it. So if you've been struggling, if you've been trying to push the river or control the seasons, take a breath, loosen your grip. Remember that the universe doesn't need your micromanagement. It needs your trust. Let go. Allow life to surprise you with its perfect timing, its unexpected grace, its infinite wisdom. Because when you surrender control, you don't lose anything. You gain everything: clarity, peace, and the deep knowing that you are being carried exactly where you need to be. 4. The Science of Coherence. There is a quiet elegance in the way the universe works. When you really start to notice it, you begin to see that life itself operates on patterns of harmony and resonance. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is connected. And that connection is not just spiritual poetry, it is a measurable, physical truth. In physics, there is a phenomenon known as coherence. It's a state where particles or waves begin to move together in perfect synchrony, amplifying each other's energy. On their own, these particles are weak, scattered, and disorganized. But when they align, when they oscillate at the same frequency, their combined force becomes extraordinary. This is the principle behind a laser beam. A single photon of light is incredibly delicate, barely noticeable. But when millions of photons align in coherence, they create a beam so powerful that it can cut through steel. Nothing about the photons has changed individually. What's changed is their relationship to one another. Alignment multiplies their power. The same is true for us. Your thoughts, emotions, and body are like those photons. When they are fragmented, when your mind thinks one thing, your heart feels another, and your body moves in yet another direction. Your energy becomes scattered. It's like trying to listen to a symphony where every musician is playing a different song, at the same time chaotic, confusing, and exhausting. But when your inner world comes into alignment, when your thoughts, feelings, and actions harmonize, you generate a field of coherence. You become like that laser beam, focused, clear, and incredibly powerful. Your energy is no longer leaking out in 1,000 different directions. Instead, it flows like a single stream, strong and unmistakable. This isn't just a spiritual metaphor. It's something science can actually measure. Researchers studying the heart and brain have discovered that when these two systems are in harmony, the body produces a very specific electromagnetic pattern, a measurable frequency of coherence. When your heart beats in a steady, rhythmic pattern, and your mind is calm and focused, your entire nervous system shifts into balance. You literally radiate a clear signal that can be detected several feet beyond your physical body. Think about what this means for manifestation. The quantum field, that invisible realm of possibilities, responds to energy, not words. It doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you are. When you are incoherent, thinking one thing, feeling another, and acting out of fear, your signal is weak and scrambled. It's like trying to tune into a radio station, While driving through heavy, static, the message can't get through clearly. But when you are coherent, when every part of you is in agreement, your signal becomes clear and undeniable. The universe doesn't have to guess what you're asking for. It reflects back to you with precision. Think of it like standing in front of a perfectly still pond. When the water is calm, it reflects your image clearly. But when the water is turbulent, the reflection is distorted. Coherence is the stillness that allows reality to reflect your true vibration. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They focus only on the mind repeating affirmations, visualizing outcomes while ignoring their emotions and body. They may be thinking about abundance, but their heart is still holding fear. They may speak about love, but their body is tense, guarded, and bracing for rejection. This inner conflict creates turbulence in their energy field, and the results they receive are just as turbulent. The key is not to force your way into coherence, but to allow it. This is where practices like deep breathing, meditation, or simply being still become so valuable. When you slow down and tune inward, you begin to notice the discord within yourself, the anxious thoughts, the unhealed emotions, the physical tension, and as you bring gentle awareness to these places, they begin to harmonize naturally. Imagine an orchestra tuning before a performance. At first, the sound is chaotic, everyone playing different notes. But slowly, as each instrument adjusts, the chaos fades into harmony. Finally, there comes a moment of perfect alignment. And when the music begins, it flows effortlessly, carrying everyone who listens into a shared experience of beauty. Your inner world works the same way. When you tend to your thoughts, soothe your emotions, and relax your body, you create the conditions for harmony. And when harmony arises, so does power. Not the power of force or control, but the quiet, magnetic power of alignment. This is why heart-centered living is so essential. Science shows that the heart generates the largest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body, even more than the brain. When your heart is open and coherent, it influences the brain, bringing your thoughts into harmony with your emotions. This heart-brain coherence sends a signal out into the field, like a lighthouse guiding ships safely to shore. And here's the beautiful part. This coherence not only impacts your personal reality, it also affects those around you. Just as a single tuning fork can cause another nearby to vibrate at the same frequency, your coherent state can influence others, lifting them into balance without a single word being spoken. This is why someone who is deeply centered feels so calming to be around. Their very presence radiates alignment. So when it comes to manifestation, don't just focus on what you want to do. Focus on what you want to become. Cultivate coherence within yourself, and you'll find that life begins to organize itself around you. Opportunities, relationships, and resources will flow toward you, not because you forced them, but because your clear signal called them forth. The laser doesn't chase the steel, it cuts through. It simply shines in perfect alignment, and the power flows naturally. In the same way, you don't need to chase your dreams when you are coherent. You become a beacon, and what is meant for you can't help but find you. When your inner world is whole, your outer world reflects that wholeness, and in that state of alignment, manifestation stops being a mystery and starts becoming as natural as the rising sun, steady and certain and profoundly powerful. 5. Inspired action versus fear-based action. There's a common misunderstanding about manifestation, that it's about sitting perfectly still, closing your eyes, and waiting for the universe to drop your desires into your lap like a gift. While stillness and trust are powerful, they are not a replacement for movement. Manifestation is not about passivity. It's about alignment. And alignment naturally leads to action. But here's the important distinction. Not all action is the same. Some actions are driven by fear, lack, and desperation, They come from a place inside you that says, if I don't do this, nothing will happen. If I don't push, I'll lose everything. These actions are heavy, exhausting, and filled with tension. They are like thrashing in deep water, flailing your arms just to keep from sinking. Other actions, however, flow naturally. They arise from inspiration and trust. They feel like the next obvious step, like when you hear a song you love and your body just moves without thinking. These actions don't drain you. They don't come with the weight of expectation. They are effortless, like a river moving downstream, following the path of least resistance. The difference between the two is not visible from the outside. To someone watching, both may look like hard work, but the energy behind them couldn't be more different. And in the realm of manifestation, the energy behind your actions is everything. Think about a seed planted in fertile soil. If you water it patiently, it grows in its own timing. But if you stand over it every hour, digging it up to check its progress, shouting at it to grow faster, you disrupt the process. You don't help it by forcing, you hinder it. Fear-based action is like that. It's the constant digging, poking, and pushing, driven by the belief that the universe won't deliver unless you control every detail. But the truth is, manifestation doesn't respond to how much you do. It responds to the vibration you hold while you do it. When you take action from fear, you are sending out a signal that says, I don't have this yet. I don't believe it's coming. I'm afraid it won't work out. And because the universe mirrors your inner state, it reflects that fear back to you, often in the form of more obstacles, more delays, more struggle. In other words, fear-based action creates more of the very thing you're trying to escape. Now imagine a different kind of action, one that rises up from deep within you like a whisper, a quiet knowing. It doesn't come with panic or urgency. It comes with calm clarity, like the moment you just know it's time to call someone, take a step, or say yes to an opportunity. There's no fear pushing you, only trust guiding you. This is inspired action. It's the natural extension of alignment. When your thoughts, feelings, and energy are coherent, action flows effortlessly. You don't have to make yourself do it. It simply feels like the next logical step, and taking it feels almost inevitable. Inspired action doesn't always make sense to the rational mind. Sometimes it feels small, like writing a single email. Other times it feels bold, like quitting a job or moving to a new city. But no matter the size, you can always recognize it by how it feels: light, clear, and strangely peaceful, even if it's outside your comfort zone. I once spoke with a man who had been trying to start his own business for years. He was working endlessly, staying up late, hustling non-stop, yet nothing was working. When we talked, I realized that every action he was taking was rooted in fear. He was terrified of failure, desperate for success, and his entire body carried the vibration of lack. So we tried a different approach. Instead of forcing himself to do more, he began practicing stillness. He allowed himself to rest, to reconnect with why he wanted this business in the first place. Slowly, as his energy shifted, an idea came to him, not from panic, but from inspiration. It was simple: reach out to one old friend and share his vision. That single, calm action opened a door. Within a month, he had a partner, funding, and a clear plan forward, all without the exhausting hustle he had been trapped in for years. This is the difference between paddling frantically upstream and allowing the current to carry you. The river doesn't need you to push it. It only needs you to trust it, to keep your heart open, your senses alert, and your willingness to move when the current invites you forward. Taking inspired action doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. Fear may still arise, but it won't be the driving force behind your choices. Instead, fear becomes like a cloud passing through the sky, noticed, acknowledged, and then released. To cultivate this kind of action, try this. Before you take a step, pause and check in with yourself. Ask, am I doing this because I trust or because I'm afraid? If it feels heavy, urgent, or panicked, wait, breathe, let the energy settle. When the action feels clear, calm, and aligned, move forward with confidence. The magic of manifestation lies not in how much you do, but in how aligned you are while doing it. One step taken from trust can create more change than 1,000 steps taken from fear. When your actions are born from alignment, you don't just create results, you create harmony. Life begins to flow. Doors open effortlessly. People and opportunities seem to appear at just the right moment. It feels almost like the universe is walking with you, guiding each step. Because in truth, it is. When you act from trust, you are no longer trying to control the river, you are moving with it. And in that movement, manifestation becomes what it was always meant to be, a dance between you and the infinite. Graceful and free. 6. Moving beyond the limits of time. Time is one of the greatest illusions we live inside. From the moment we are born, we are taught to see life as a straight line, past behind us, present under our feet, future far ahead. We are told that what we want is out there, somewhere in the distance, waiting for us. If only we work hard enough, wait long enough, and prove ourselves worthy enough. But the truth, both spiritual and scientific, is far more mysterious and far more beautiful. In the quantum field, the invisible realm where energy and possibility reside, past, present, and future all exist at once. They are not separate places you travel through. They are like layers of a single moment, all happening simultaneously, like pages of a book already written, waiting for you to turn to the one you wish to experience. This means something profound. The life you desire is not waiting for you in some far-off future. It exists right now, in this very moment, as a potential reality. It is like a radio station already broadcasting its song, even if you haven't tuned in to hear it yet. When you think you must wait for your desire, you unintentionally push it further away. You vibrate with "not yet," and the universe mirrors that back to you. Every time you say, "One day, I'll be free. One day I'll be abundant. One day I'll be happy," you are affirming that this moment is not that day. And so the cycle of waiting continues endlessly. Imagine standing at the edge of a beautiful ocean. Somewhere across the water is the island you long to visit. You believe you must build a boat plank by plank, push it into the sea, and slowly row your way there, over months or years. But what if you realize the island was never separate from you at all? What if, with a shift in perspective, you could see that you are already standing on its shores? This is the nature of manifestation. It's not about creating something in the future. It's about becoming the version of yourself who is already living that reality right here, right now. The mind, however, struggles with this concept. It loves linear thinking. It says, first I must do this, then that will happen, and eventually, I'll get there. But this kind of thinking keeps you trapped in a constant chase, like a donkey running toward a carrot on a stick. You are always moving forward but never arriving. The secret is to collapse the distance between you and your desire. You do this not by forcing, but by embodying the state of being that matches your desire in this very moment. Let's say you dream of abundance. You can wait and hope, counting the days until money finally flows in. Or you can begin to live as though abundance is already part of you. This doesn't mean reckless spending or pretending your bills don't exist. It means carrying the feeling of sufficiency, gratitude, and generosity. Now, before the outer evidence appears, when you vibrate with abundance in the present, reality begins to rearrange itself to reflect that frequency. Opportunities seem to arise out of nowhere. People come into your life at just the right time. Solutions you couldn't have planned reveal themselves effortlessly. It feels almost magical. but it's simply the quantum field responding to your alignment. Think of it like a mirror. When you smile into the mirror, you don't wait for the reflection to smile back before you move your lips. You smile first, and the reflection follows instantly. Your external reality works the same way. It reflects the energy you embody right now, not what you say you will become someday. If you wait to feel free until your circumstances change, you'll keep waiting. If you wait to feel love until someone else shows up, you'll keep waiting. But when you choose to feel free now, to feel love now, to live as though it's already done, you close the gap between the inner and the outer. The universe has no choice but to match you. This principle is deeply rooted in both ancient wisdom and modern science. Spiritual teachers have long said, "As within, so without." Quantum physics now echoes this truth, showing us that the act of observation shapes reality. When you hold a specific state of being, you are like the observer, collapsing waves of potential into a single outcome. Your thoughts and emotions are not passive. They are instructions to the quantum field. Each moment you spend waiting for a future reality, you are instructing the field to keep it in the future. But each moment, you become that reality now. You bring it into the present. Of course, this doesn't mean you deny the facts of your current situation. It doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending pain doesn't exist. It means you choose to root your energy in possibility rather than lack. For example, if you want to heal from illness, you don't deny the symptoms. You care for your body, and you seek treatment. But at the same time, you hold the vibration of wholeness. You speak to yourself as someone who is already healing, already vibrant, already whole. This dual awareness bridges the gap between what is and what can be. Time, as we know it, is a useful tool for the physical world. It helps us plan, measure, and navigate daily life. But spiritually and energetically, time is fluid. It bends and shifts according to the state of consciousness you hold. When you remain stuck in the mindset of someday, time stretches endlessly ahead of you. When you embody your desire now, time collapses, and the distance between you and your dream disappears. So take a deep breath and bring your awareness into this moment. Feel your feet on the ground, your heart beating steadily, the air moving in and out of your lungs. This right here is where your power lives, not in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's hopes, but in the choices you make now, the energy you hold now, the reality you embody now. Stop waiting. Stop postponing your joy, your freedom, your peace. Live today as though the life you desire is already true. Because in the quantum field, it is. When you do this, reality has no choice but to rise up and meet you. Not someday, but now. 7. Trusting the first alignment. There is a sacred moment in every journey of manifestation, a moment so subtle that we often overlook its power. It's that first time you truly feel the reality you desire. Not just a passing thought or a mental image, but a deep, resonant knowing in your heart that says, "Yes, this is mine. This is who I am." That moment is not small. It's not fragile. It is the spark that sets everything in motion. In that instant, the signal you send to the universe is crystal clear, pure, and strong. It's like striking a perfect note on an instrument, one that rings out into the vast field of possibility, reverberating far beyond what you can see. The mistake many of us make is not in feeling this alignment, but in doubting it. We second-guess ourselves. We think, maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe I need to do it again. Maybe if I repeat my visualizations or affirmations hundreds of times, then the universe will finally hear me. And so we push, we force, we repeat the process over and over, not from trust, but from fear. The fear that if we don't do enough, what we want won't come to us. But here's the quiet truth, that fear is what muddies the signal. It's like trying to shout over a clear song. adding more and more noise until the melody is lost. The universe doesn't need volume. It needs clarity. Think about throwing a stone into a still pond. The moment the stone touches the surface, ripples begin to move outward effortlessly. You don't need to keep throwing more stones to make the ripples reach the far shore. The first ripple is enough if you allow it to travel undisturbed. But imagine if you kept tossing stones into the water, frantic and impatient. The ripples would crash into each other, creating chaos instead of harmony. The water would grow turbulent, and the original wave would be lost. This is what happens when you don't trust your initial alignment. Each time you repeat the process with doubt in your heart, you are throwing another stone into the pond, disrupting the natural flow. In that first moment of deep connection, your desire has already been heard. The quantum field has already begun to rearrange itself to reflect your new frequency. Your job isn't to remind the universe again and again. Your job is to hold the vibration of trust long enough for the ripples to reach you. Trust doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing what you've set in motion to unfold without interference. It's like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, and you give it sunlight, and you trust that life is doing its quiet, unseen work beneath the soil. When you check constantly, when you prod and push, you disrupt the process. But when you stand back in faith, you create space for growth to happen naturally. I once spoke with a woman who was desperate to manifest love. She had done every technique imaginable: vision boards filled with pictures of couples, daily affirmations about her perfect partner, hours of meditation. And yet, nothing seemed to change. When we explored deeper, she admitted that every time she finished her practice, a voice inside her whispered, "It didn't work. I need to try again. If I don't do more, it won't happen." Her rituals were not coming from trust. They were fueled by lack and fear. And so the signal she was sending wasn't "I am ready for love." It was "I don't have love, and I'm afraid I never will." The moment she realized this, she decided to try something radically different. She would feel it once, clearly and deeply, and then let go. The next morning, she sat quietly and allowed herself to truly feel the love she wanted, as if it were already present. She felt her heart expand, her body relax, and her entire being shift into harmony. Then she released it. She didn't repeat it later that day. She didn't analyze it. She simply trusted that the signal had been sent. 3 weeks later, she met someone unexpectedly, not through effort or searching, but through the natural unfolding of life. It wasn't magic. It was alignment, followed by trust. The same is true for you. You don't need to keep knocking on the same door once it's already been opened. You don't need to keep shouting into a space that is already listening. The first moment of clear alignment is like setting a compass. Once it's pointed toward your destination, you don't need to keep turning it. You simply walk, step by step, knowing it's guiding you in the right direction. But walking requires faith. Faith that the unseen forces are working on your behalf. Faith that even when you can't see progress, things are moving beneath the surface. It's natural for doubt to arise. We live in a world that teaches us to measure progress by visible results, to believe only in what we can see. So when we don't see immediate change, the mind panics. It says, "Nothing is happening. I need to do more. I need to try harder." But here's what I've learned. Through years of trial and error, through moments of deep struggle and deep surrender, the most powerful thing you can do is stay still inside. Stay steady, like the surface of that pond, and allow the ripples to travel. The universe is precise. It does not forget. It does not need to be convinced. So when you feel that first moment of alignment, when your heart expands and you know, even for a brief second, that your desire is real, hold that moment close. Let it be enough. Return to it, not by forcing, but by remembering, like recalling a beautiful melody. You don't have to sing it loudly again and again. You simply hum it softly to yourself, trusting that the song still exists. One clear, coherent moment of resonance is more powerful than hours of frantic effort. It is enough to set the universe in motion. Trust the first alignment. Trust that the seed you've planted is already growing, even if you can't see it yet. And trust that the moment you stop digging up the soil, the moment you stop doubting the process, the garden of your life will begin to bloom naturally, beautifully, and right on time. 8. The universe responds to simplicity, not complexity. There's a certain elegance to the way the universe works, a kind of quiet, natural order that doesn't need to be forced or controlled. And yet, as human beings, we often complicate everything. We overthink, overanalyze, and overwork, believing that the more effort we pour in, the more worthy we are of receiving what we desire. We think, if I can just figure it all out, every detail, every possibility, every outcome, then maybe life will finally give me what I've been asking for. But what we don't realize is that this very striving, this constant mental noise, creates static in our signal. It's like trying to listen to a beautiful piece of music while 10 radios are blaring different stations all at once. The universe does not respond to that chaos. It responds to clarity. It responds to simplicity. It responds to the stillness beneath all the noise. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. When you stand calmly, smiling softly, the reflection is clear and beautiful. But if you wave your arms wildly, jumping back and forth, the reflection becomes blurred and distorted. It's still a perfect mirror, but it can only reflect what's in front of it. Your external reality is just like that mirror. It doesn't judge. It doesn't choose sides. It simply reflects your internal state. If you are frantic and conflicted inside, the reflection you see in your life will be equally chaotic. But if you become still, clear, and centered, the reflection will naturally take on that same clarity. The problem is, most of us have been taught that complexity equals progress. We think that the harder something feels, the more real it must be. We are conditioned to believe that struggle is proof of worthiness, that only through exhaustion and sacrifice can we create something valuable. But manifestation does not work that way. The universe is not impressed by how complicated you make things. It does not hand out rewards for effort alone. It responds to the quality of your vibration, the signal you are sending in this moment. When your signal is tangled in fear, doubt, and frantic effort, it becomes hard for the universe to organize itself around you. Not because the universe is confused, but because you are broadcasting mixed messages. Think of a garden. The soil does not need you to dig it up constantly or rearrange the seeds every day. The sun doesn't need you to direct its rays in perfect angles. The rain doesn't need you to command it to fall. Your only role is to plant, nurture, and trust. If you interfere too much overwatering, pulling at the stems to make them grow faster, you actually harm the very life you are trying to cultivate. Nature thrives in simplicity, and so does the universe. I've seen this truth play out again and again. Not just in others, but in my own life. There were times when I believed I had to do it all. I would write endless affirmations, visualize every detail of my dream, down to the color of the walls, try to control every possible path it might take to arrive. But instead of creating flow, I created tension. I was trying to be the architect of the entire universe, and it was exhausting. Then, one day, I stopped. I sat in silence and asked myself, what if it could be simple? The question felt like a soft exhale. After years of holding my breath, for the first time, I realized that manifestation was never about me controlling everything. It was about me becoming clear and allowing life to meet me there. When I let go of the mental clutter, something miraculous happened. Opportunities began to appear effortlessly. Conversations that needed to happen unfolded naturally. People I hadn't seen in years suddenly reached out at the perfect moment. It was as if the universe had been waiting all along, just needing me to step out of the way. Simplicity isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing only what is essential and doing it with presence. It's about choosing one clear intention rather than juggling 10 conflicting desires. It's about taking one meaningful step instead of scattering your energy across 100 frantic movements. When you live this way, you create space for the universe to do what it does best. Orchestrate the details in ways your mind could never plan. Life becomes a co-creation rather than a solo performance. This is why practices like meditation, deep breathing, or even simply sitting quietly for a few moments can be so powerful. They strip away the excess. They bring you back to the center of yourself, where clarity lives. And from that place, the actions you take are guided and effective rather than desperate and chaotic. Think of a drop of water falling into a still pond. The ripples move outward smoothly and evenly. But if the water is already turbulent, the drop disappears into the chaos without leaving a trace. Your desires are like that drop. In a still, simple mind, they ripple out into the quantum field with strength and precision. In a noisy, complicated mind, they are lost in the static ways. So if you feel overwhelmed right now, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, where am I adding unnecessary complexity? Where am I trying to control what was never mine to control then? Let it go. Simplify your desire. Simplify your actions. Simplify your thoughts. Not by force, but by gently peeling away what no longer serves you, like a tree shedding its leaves in autumn, trusting that new growth will come in spring. The universe has always been listening. It has always been ready to respond, but it responds most clearly when your signal is clear. And clarity comes not from doing more, but from being more present, more open, more simple. When you return to simplicity, manifestation stops being a struggle. It becomes as natural as a reflection in a mirror, effortless, exact, and profoundly beautiful. And in that simplicity, you'll discover that the universe was never against you. It was simply waiting for you to stand still long enough to see what was already there. 9. Metaphors to help you understand more deeply sometimes. The truths of the universe are so vast, so subtle, that words alone can feel inadequate. This is why metaphors are powerful. They take something invisible and make it visible, turning a spiritual principle into an image you can see, feel, and remember. Manifestation, at its core, is about alignment and trust. And there are two simple metaphors that reveal this truth beautifully. One about growth and one about resonance. The seed in the soil. Imagine holding a tiny seed in your hand. At first glance, it looks small, fragile, almost insignificant. But within that seed lies the blueprint for an entire tree: branches, leaves, roots, even the fruit it will one day bear. Everything is already there, hidden within its form, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. When you plant the seed in the soil, you cannot see its progress. You don't know when it will sprout, how fast it will grow, or which direction its roots will take. Your role is simple: provide water, sunlight, and nourishment, and then step back. Trust nature to do what it has always done. But imagine if, every day, you became impatient and dug up the seed to check if it was growing. Each time you disturb it, you harm the delicate process unfolding beneath the surface. Your anxiety and interference don't make the seed grow faster, they only weaken it. Eventually, if you keep digging, you'll destroy the very life you were trying to nurture. Manifestation works the same way. The moment you set a clear intention, you've planted a seed in the quantum field. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions provide the water and sunlight. But if you constantly check on it with doubt, wondering, why isn't it here yet? What if it doesn't happen? Maybe I need to do more. You disrupt the process. Faith is not about doing nothing. It's about doing what's needed and then letting go. When you trust the unseen growth, your desire will naturally emerge when the timing is right. And just like a tree, it will appear stronger and more vibrant because you allowed it to unfold in harmony. This metaphor reminds us of patience and surrender. A seed doesn't grow by force, and neither do our dreams. They grow in stillness, nurtured by care and protected by trust. The resonance of sound now. Imagine a crystal glass sitting on a table. It looks solid, unmovable, but there is a frequency, a specific note that matches the natural vibration of that glass. When a singer hits that exact note, perfectly aligned with the glass's frequency, something astonishing happens. The glass shatters. No hammer, no pressure, no physical force, only sound. What breaks the glass is an effort. It's resonance. It's two vibrations meeting in perfect harmony, unlocking a hidden potential that was always there. This is the essence of manifestation. Your external reality, no matter how solid or fixed it appears, is not unchangeable. It is energy, just like you. And when you align your inner frequency with the frequency of what you desire, your reality shatters not in destruction, but in transformation. You don't need to fight your current circumstances. You don't need to push or struggle to make change happen. When you become the vibration of the life you want, the old structures naturally dissolve to make room for the new. Living these truths. These metaphors, the seed and the sound, are different, yet deeply connected. The seed teaches patience. It shows you that life has its own timing, and that growth happens in the unseen long before you witness results. The sound teaches alignment. It reminds you that when you match your inner world to the frequency of your desire, outer change becomes inevitable. Together, they reveal a profound truth. Manifestation is not about forcing life into shape. It's about harmonizing with it. Consider how these ideas play out in your own life. Maybe you've been digging up your seeds with constant worry and self-doubt. Each day you ask, why isn't it happening yet? And in doing so, you disturb the natural unfolding of your dream. Or maybe you've been trying to break through obstacles with sheer effort, pushing and pushing without ever pausing to align with the right frequency. What would happen if you stopped pushing and started tuning? What would happen if, instead of striving, you simply became the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire? This shift doesn't happen overnight. It begins with awareness. The next time you catch yourself in a moment of frustration or control, pause. Ask yourself, am I nurturing the seed, or am I digging it up? Am I singing in harmony with my dream, or am I shouting off key in desperation? These questions bring you back to simplicity. They remind you that manifestation isn't about doing more, it's about being more. Being more present, more trusting, more attuned to the flow of life. The magic of quiet power. The most extraordinary changes often happen quietly, beneath the surface, just like the seed sprouting in darkness, or the invisible sound waves breaking the glass. You might not see progress right away, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. The universe is always moving, always listening, always responding to the vibration you hold. When you understand this, you stop needing to control the outcome. You realize that your greatest power lies not in force, but in clarity and faith. Your job is not to hammer at the glass or dig at the soil. Your job is to become the note, to nurture the seed, and to trust the process. And then, one day, what seemed impossible will suddenly appear, a tree rising tall from the earth, a glass shattering with a single note, a dream becoming reality before your eyes. Not because you fought for it, but because you aligned with it. Not because you pushed the river, but because you flowed with it. This is the quiet, profound magic of manifestation. The moment you stop trying to make it happen and instead allow yourself to become the very thing you seek. Life will meet you there, becoming the frequency of your desire. There comes a moment on this journey when you finally understand deeply, completely, that you don't have to fight your way to the life you dream of. You don't need to build the future brick by brick, sweating over every detail, controlling every outcome. The universe is not waiting for you to earn your desires through exhaustion or struggle. The life you want already exists. It is here, now, in this very moment, woven into the infinite field of possibilities. It isn't hiding from you, and you don't have to chase it. Your only task is to become the version of yourself who already lives it. This isn't about pretending or faking it. It's about alignment. It's about allowing the vibration of that reality to become your natural state. The way breathing is natural, the way your heartbeat is natural. When you merge with that frequency, when you embody it fully, life has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Think of it like a dance. If you are stiff, resistant, trying to control every move, the dance feels awkward and forced. But when you relax, when you let the music move through you, the dance flows effortlessly. You don't have to think about the steps. They happen on their own. Manifestation is like that dance. It was never about forcing life into shape. It was about letting life move through you, letting the energy of your desire become so natural within you that it expresses itself without effort. So often, we think of manifestation as a far-off event, something that will happen someday if we just do enough, work enough, prove enough. But here's the truth. Your desires are not in the future. They are here, quietly waiting for you to say yes. When you say yes with your whole being, not just your words, not just your thoughts, but your entire energy field, the universe responds. It rearranges itself to match you, just as a mirror perfectly reflects whatever stands before it. This is why clarity matters so much. The universe does not require complexity or struggle. It does not need you to prove yourself through endless rituals or elaborate plans. It only asks for one thing: a clear, steady signal. When you are clear inside, clear in your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, manifestation becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped standing in your own way. Remember, this manifestation is not a mysterious magic trick. It is a reflection, a mirror of your inner world, projected outward. When you are filled with doubt, fear, and contradiction, life will reflect that back to you. But when you are filled with trust, love, and alignment, life will mirror those qualities with breathtaking precision. The magic you've been chasing has never been outside of you. It has always been within you, waiting to be recognized. I've seen this truth in my own life and in the lives of so many others. Moments when everything felt hopeless, when I was sure nothing would ever change. And then, with one simple shift, everything rearranged itself almost overnight. Not because I worked harder, but because I finally let go. I stopped digging up the seed. I stopped shouting at the river. I stopped doubting the timing of life. And in that stillness, the universe moved. You don't need to strain to make your desires happen. You only need to embody them now, to live as though they are already real, because in the quantum field, they are real. Each breath you take is an opportunity to choose trust over fear, to choose simplicity over chaos, to choose alignment over control. And each time you choose alignment, the ripples move outward, shaping reality in ways you cannot yet see. One day, you will look around and realize that what you once called a miracle has become ordinary. The love you dreamed of will be sitting across the table from you. The abundance you longed for will feel as natural as air. The freedom you fought for will simply be your way of life. And in that moment, you'll smile, not because the universe finally gave you something, but because you finally allowed yourself to receive what was always yours. So take a deep breath. Release the need to control, to force, to rush. Stand in your power, in your clarity, in your trust. The universe is always listening. It is always responding, not to your words, but to your vibration. Become the frequency of what you desire, and reality will have no choice but to reflect it. And when it does, manifestation will no longer feel like magic. It will feel like breathing, effortless, natural, and profoundly certain, like the sunrise after the darkest night.